Hey everyone, this is WobblyWallaby. In this video, I showed how I learned to properly play Sunlight to solo Legend of ZM3F, PSR, and all Ghost Palace instances. I'll give you tips and mistakes to avoid. She is truly the highest DPS class in the game, nothing else comes close for me. With max 200 solar power, cast Sunlight Ritual, I'm using Ghost Element from Sunlight's Grace. Then Solar Power Shower, I target Pokorani first because that's the furthest from Nuka. And Solar Flame Shower is your primary DPS. As a result, do not use Scorching Realm right away. When I'm about to die, I cast Scorching Realm, which luckily Nuka does not disable. Then I cast Sunlight Blessing for the insane 90% final damage reduction and healing. They're clumped together and they all die at the end. It was still pretty close at the end, I almost did die to Kimura. This was a close call, but still beating 4 bosses in less than 30 seconds is quite amazing. I saw this in action when my Zenith guildmate Alexodus did this in a public party and cleared floor 3 insanely fast, and that began my obsession. Now here's the gear overview I used to clear my ZM3F. If you want to have a complete guide on what I use and why, then check out my video in the description. This one focuses more on gameplay than on actual gear. I'm not using Fire Era Seed since they are demi-humans already, so Lord of Vayne is good. For Shadow equipment, the Skeleton Bracer and Perseverance Armor provide some much needed survivability. Now here are some more great tips, including some great advice from Alexodus when I asked him for some help. Now Solar Flame Shower is insane, you want to keep this up as much as possible. As you saw in the Museum 3F, this skill can do a lot of damage even when you can't attack. It is extremely important to keep your solar power as high as possible. Now one trick is to turn off Sunlight's protection. Alexodus turns it off for all PvE. I only keep it on for PSR, but also turn it off for now. This made an enormous difference. Losing solar power is not worth it. It's better to use potions to heal and burst down the boss instead. So I only keep it on for PSR, but in other instances I turn it off. Alexodus mentioned using Blessing to extend the time that I can have the solar flame building up power before it goes under 100, and then again to extend the Scorching Realm time. Again, the timing is very important and watching your solar power is key. Now for the best back to use, he mentioned Quantum Blade or Lex Wings. For head, it is Cat Diadem. Now, one interesting interaction he brought up was the Solar Flame not triggering passives like Break Weapon or your everyday regular procs, but they do proc Lex from Wings. And that is the reason why he uses the Lex Wings. For me personally, I don't have enough morale if I use the Lex Wings, that's why I do not use it. Next, for what runes to reroll for, he mentioned the Undying Runes numbers contribute more to the overall damage over time, counting Scorching Realm time, than the Solar Breakthrough Rune, so definitely try to reroll for that. Let's go to the next instance, Dark Finale. First against Terranatos, I used the Sunlight Blessing to get my solar power, then Sunlight's Grace and convert to fire, then cast Sunlight Ritual. Then I use Solar Power Shower, then go towards the boss. Make sure you dodge all the AoE, if you get hit with it, your run will be over. Now the biggest mistake I was doing before was using Scorching Realm too early. For optimal damage, you want to use it above 100, and it can be earlier depending on how confident you are to burst down the boss. I am watching my solar power, and when I get to about 150, then I activate Scorching Realm. I had practiced this enough to know that at 150, I can activate Scorching Realm and Terranatos will go down. Depending on how strong you are, you need to adjust this for yourself. Next is Sacre, which took maybe 20 attempts. For him, you need to dodge all his AoE. Be careful, some have a really large radius. You also need to convert to Holy for more damage. Now Solar Flame Shower has a big enough radius that you're still doing damage while running around. It's fine to rely on this and not to auto-attack him that much. When he stops you from casting spells, then use Blessing to prolong the damage of Solar Flame Shower. Now the great thing about Sunlight is she can keep doing damage even when the damaging skills are disabled. I cast Scorching Sun at 150. The reason being, if I waited any longer, the chance of me getting instant killed by his skill will happen. In many attempts, I waited too long and died to that. So as you play Sunlight, see at what threshold you should enable it. For me, it's often near 150, since when it's close to 100, I can easily mess up the time. Here is the Sakurai setup. I removed Xanabia from my garment since I had enough skill damage. I also used Dark Pouring cards in my accessories. Next is the Space-Time Dragon. Again, my biggest mistake here used to be activating Scorching Realm too soon. Losing solar power causes your DPS to be lost in the long term. I do Sunlight's Blessing to build up my solar power, then Sunlight's Grace to convert to Holy, then Sunlight Ritual, then I do Solar Flame Shower, then Auto Attack. And I dodge AoEs as needed. Then I watch my solar power. Now this time I activated slightly faster since I don't think I can take down the dragon fast enough, so I wait to about 130 to activate it. When the timer is falling down, I do Sunlight Blessing to prolong the effect. You should do this as much as possible. Now this is a situation where the boss didn't go down after doing this, so you have to work on building up your solar power again. And this really is the slow zone where you have to build things up. Now, before I hit 200 solar power, I activate Scorching Realm to finish the battle since the dragon's HP is low enough. It does take some practice to know exactly how much burst you can do. Some people might need to wait a bit before casting Scorching Realm to finish off this dragon. Now here's the gear I used against the Space-Time Dragon. Next is Cain. This probably took like 30 tries. It was brutal, and this is where Sunlight survivability becomes apparent. I also had to cheat with my Fire Era Seed to deal more damage. I found if I used survivability gear, it just wouldn't give me enough damage, so I'd lose eventually. So this boss is extremely hard and definitely a really hard one to solo. When he does AoE, make sure you dodge it. When he's about to cast AoE underneath you to do the flames, run around a lot, but stay within the Solar Flame Shower ring. Now, why don't I use Scorching Realm? Because I know Cain is about to get his shield, so it's a waste to do so. All my solar power is gone while he had his shield, so I need to build it up again. Now here I have 128 power, so I use Scorching Realm. Unfortunately, this was a bit of a waste, but I do prolong it with Sunlight's Blessing. In that short time, I did a lot of damage. Then I hit the annoying cooldown, so I have to wait around. Then I go build up my solar power again. I use Scorching Realm again when I'm near 120 solar power. And luckily, the boss goes down. Now, there's a lot of cycling, but thankfully things worked out. The annoying thing when cycling for Cain is when he gets the shield, so you can only do 1 damage to him. That sort of throws off the timing quite a bit. Here's the gear that I used. I used water accessories, and I used 2 Ultraman cards for damage to demons. And unfortunately, I needed to use Fire Era Seed this time, otherwise I couldn't burst it down fast enough. Finally is the PSR Dragon. Again, don't activate Scorching Realm too early, you need Solar Flame Shower as your AoE. For the dragon, I do enable the Magic Shield for Sunlight, otherwise you'll die too often. If you're in a party where you can get Faith Prayed and healed, then you can turn off the Magic Protection. that way you can do more damage. You do have to use potions quite a bit. Even though my solar power is full, I use Scorching Realm because I haven't really used it much. I want to burst down the dragon quickly. That puts the dragon to above 50%. Now I can attack for 3 seconds. Now I build up my solar power again. My solar power dipped below 100, which isn't good, but I still activate Scorching Realm in an attempt to bring down the dragon quickly. Now the problem with the dragon is he hits really hard, so trying to cycle is really hard. I'm often just struggling to stay alive. For PSR, I still prefer using Klitzberg or Saitama because they have more survivability. Here's the gear that I used. Now for my overall stats. At 54,000 attack, 158% move speed, 206.7% penetration, 52.8% skill damage, 118.9% physical damage increase, 202% ignore defense. For attributes, I max strength, then dex, and the remaining into Vit. For Avenger Handbook, I'm at 150% and 3,737 attack. But even without high deposit, the potential of sunlight is very high. If you have a party that can protect you, then you don't need as high deposit since you can survive. The problem really is solo content since you have to do it quickly before you die. And in a future video, I will be using my free-to-play account in order to see how far I can get using that. Next are Ruins. For Undying Sun Ruin, Alexodus said that this one provides a lot of damage. I had no luck re-rolling it. Also, my move speed isn't that high. For Bestowed Radiance Ruin, I got a pretty good one here at 43%. This does make a big difference, since it adds a lot of elemental damage. For Sunrise Barrier Star Ruin, getting some stacks return is fine. This ruin isn't that great for me. For Glaring Enlightenment Ruin, the life leech is right here. I would want to reroll this a bit more since my survivability is bad. For Sunlight Mercy, this is nice to have for adding more time to Blessing. Finally, the Solar Breakthrough Ruin. Your Sunlight Crash will do more damage. Mine is pretty bad here. Well, that's all. I hope you enjoyed learning the potential of sunlight in very hard instances. There's definitely a learning curve for sunlight, but the good thing is, if you know how to play her, then you can do a lot of damage, so I do like the fact that there is some skill involved with playing her. This makes her more interesting to play compared to classes like Klitzberg. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Here's a video that I'd recommend, and if you want more Ragnarok mobile content, check out this playlist over here.